Hello everyone, it's Kari from sunshineinmypocket.com, and today I have a fun project for you. We are going to turn the Queen's Castle into a haunted mansion, and we'll be using that Queen's Castle stamp set along with this Boo Crew stamp set, using some of those very cute trick-or-treaters from that set. And I think this is a super fun card, so I hope you enjoy it. First, we're going to go ahead and stamp out the Queen's Castle. I am just using some amalgam ink for this because I'm going to do some Copic coloring. So this is one of my favorite inks for Copic coloring. It works really well. And then I'm also going to stamp out a mask. I'm just using this Masking Magic from Gina K. And I'm just going to stamp that barely on there so that I have something I can cut out and put over that castle that we stamped on the card panel. This is very simple to do, and all I'll do is it doesn't matter if this is a really good impression on this one because that's just a mask. Now I'm going to stamp out some of these adorable characters. I think these are probably some of the cutest trick-or-treaters I have ever seen. I adore that they're all dressed like little ghosts. They all have like a sheet over them. So we've got a mouse, a rabbit, a spider, and a raccoon. There's also a snail with a pumpkin on his back. Super cute. This is one of my favorite Halloween stamp sets ever. So I'm going to stamp a few more here on the other side. I had to remove a couple of them so they wouldn't overlap. But I always like to stamp extra just in case I need them. In this case, I'm going to have extra to make another card later on. Now to do the background, I have been wanting to do this background for a while. This is perfect for a Halloween card. I'm using Distress Oxides in Scattered Straw, Spiced Marmalade, Seedless Preserves, and Chipped Sapphire. And I found that I forgot to cut off a portion of this mask here. So I'm just going to take my small scissors and try to do that while I have the mask placed on the panel. I eventually got that done here. It was a little awkward, but you know, where there's a will, there's a way, right? To make the background, I'm going to use my favorite domed ink blending tools to add the color, and I want it to be more blue and purple than I have in my sample there to the right. I decided to add a little bit of a moon, so I took a circle die cut and just cut out a small circle. I'm going to place it right there, kind of behind the castle, so it looks like the moon is peeking out from behind the castle, or in this case, it's going to be a haunted mansion. So I put that circle right on there, and that is going to mask off the moon for us as well. Now I'm going to add the orange color here, and I wanted it to be more blue and purple, as I was saying, than the orange and yellow. So I just did a small portion of orange yellow, and now I'm going to do more purple and more blue coming down the card. It's almost like it is starting to get dark here in the village, and the trick-or-treaters are just coming out, so that is the look I'm going for. I did add some chipped sapphire all the way down each side of the card, and now I'm going to blend that out with all the colors to make it a perfect blend. I'm going to give you a little peek behind the moon here. Look how amazing that's going to look when we're done. But we don't want to remove the mask just yet because I have a little more detail to add to this background to really make it pop. I'm going to add some splatters, some paint splatters to this background using some Gansai Tambi paints. You can use any paint you want, and for this particular scene, I wanted it to be darker. A lot of times I'll add some white splatters, but since this is a Halloween night, I'm going to do some black, purple, and gold. And that'll give it more of an evening feel, kind of like a night vibe. So I usually take the color and put it on an acrylic block, and then I just kind of swipe it off the edge of the block to get some really great small splatters all over the background. I keep moving things out of the way because this does get a little messy. And so I just keep moving things out of the way there, and we're getting some really great gold here. Now I'm going to move on to the black and the purple, and I'll just quickly add those, and you'll see how beautiful this turns out in the end. Such a fun, easy technique to do, and it adds quite a bit of drama and impact. So I'll just clean that up, and I'm going to set this aside to completely dry before I remove those masks. I don't want to smear any of those ink splatters that we just did. So while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go ahead and color up a couple of these images for you. I'm not going to leave them all in because I find that some people enjoy coloring, watching coloring, and some people don't so much. So I'm just going to give you a little quick peek at what I'm doing here. For the pumpkin, I add the darkest color in the ridges there along the lines, then blend that out with the medium color, and then all the way through with the light color. I'll list the colors here in case you're curious about that. And I found that after I went through all of the colors, it wasn't quite dark enough, so I did go over it again with the darkest color to give it a little more depth. So that's how easy this pumpkin is. And then I went ahead and added some yellow to the inside of the mouth and the eyes, so it looks like it's glowing from the inside out. And I just use a Y02 on that and darken it up with a little bit of a darker yellow. Super simple to do. For the characters, I'm essentially going to color them with grays so they look like kind of a white sheet, a little bit darker than white because it's the night sky. But I start out with a light blue, which is the B000, and that gives it a little bit of a blue undertone. Some of them I put a purple undertone using a BV000. And I like to do that to give it a little more depth as well, so I'm not just using grays, but I'm just using the warm grays here for the sheet. And then for this little raccoon tail, I'm going to go in with some neutral grays. I'll start with the N7, blend that out with an N5, and then color all over all of that with the N3. Very cute. I'll use that also for his little foot, and then I'll just finish all these up, and you can see they're off to the side here, and here is the reveal on that haunted mansion with the moon. I think it looks really cool with that sky. So now I'm going to just tape off using some Post-it tape so I can add some green to the ground. I'm using a darker green for this one. This is the forest moss. And the reason is because it is kind of getting darker, so the ground would be darker as well. I started out using this smaller brush, and then I moved to a larger brush, and that started working out so much better for me. I really like the larger size, I guess, is what I'm finding out today. So just inking that on, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I pulled that up and I found I had a stripe left there. So I'm going to carefully go over the sides also with this green. And I'm trying not to cover that walkway, the cobblestone walkway in the center there. So I'm just going from each side all the way to the middle. And that seemed to work. And then I'm going to add some Copic markers to that as well. I chose some colors to match the forest moss. So they're YG93, YG95, and YG97. I colored the entire little bush here with the lightest color, and now I'm going over where those overlap each other using the darker colors. This is going to be a very dramatic bush, but I'll just keep blending those out until they look like I want, and a very kind of spooky look. Now, starting on the cobblestones, I will use some neutrals. I'm coloring all those cobblestones in with the darkest N7, and then I'll go and color in between the cobblestones with the N5, and that's going to give it a dark walkway here. The castle I'm going to do the same as well, but before we get to that, I'm going to color up those rose bushes. These roses are going to be black. This is a haunted mansion, and so if they were going to have rose bushes, I would think they would probably be black roses. So those are going to get the same neutral grays as well. For the tree portion itself, it's also going to be gray, and I'll color those in with the lightest N3, I believe this is, and then I'm going to add some texture by adding some dots with two of those gray colors. It's going to look like these are leaves, like gray leaves, and that adds quite a bit of interest as well. I think these details are what add all of the difference. It makes the difference when you're creating a card like this. I have some iced spruce distress ink now, and that's what I'm going to use to paint onto the moon. I'm using very, very little bit of water for this. This is not watercolor paper. This is just regular Neenah Solar White cardstock, 80 pound. So just a tiny bit of water, and I'm going to go over that moon so it's not completely stark white. Just adding a little bit here and there. No rhyme or reason. This doesn't have to look exactly like the moon because this is a card. So just an impression of the moon, and that gives it a little bit of darkness, but it still glows. As I was getting ready to color up the castle, I noticed a spot that I'd missed in the ink blending. I guess I forgot to cut out that part of the mask. So I found a Copic marker that was very similar to the purple that I used here and just colored that in with the Copic marker. There are so many ways that you can fix mistakes like that or little things that you might miss. So easy to do. And now I'm coloring the rest in with all the neutral grays as I mentioned, using some darker, light, and medium. I'm blending them out as I go, and this is just a really fun image to color. I really did love this. I think this is going to be fun to color in lots of different colors too. If this wasn't a haunted mansion, I'm for sure would go in with some bright colors and make this a really happy castle. But today it's going to be dark and ominous. So I'm finishing up the roof here, and I'll go ahead and finish up the drawbridge. This is going to be a drawbridge today. And now I'm going to go ahead and place that on my card base. I'm using 100 pound paper for the card base, and I'll just glue it on with some liquid adhesive, just like so. And now it's time to add all of the characters. Our trick-or-treaters are going to go right on top. I will put them on using some 3M foam tape to get some good dimension. And those are just going to really make this card. I'm putting on the last character here, our little raccoon. And that is our card today. Oh, I almost forgot about the snail. Got to put that snail on with his little pumpkin there. And there we go. And you can see I have quite a few characters off to the left here that I still have to make another card. So that's awesome too. Here's a look at our beautiful Haunted Mansion Halloween scene using missing stamps. I hope you enjoyed this project today. I really enjoyed making it with you, or making it for you, I guess. But I hope I inspired you to try some of these techniques and maybe this ink blended background. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you did enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. I'll be back real soon with some more inspiration. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.